I should also say this type of activity is something that we build into every professional development event that we do. What we found is that even though we have monthly happy hours and speed networking events twice a year as well, our members still wanted that connection, even when they came to learn about a topic or to develop certain skills. And so this is something we're still trying to figure out new, unique, cool ways to do it better. But at a minimum, we've built some sort of 10 to 15-minute networking activity into every single one of our events. And it's actually been one of the items that we've seen has been most popular and most positive in our evaluations afterwards. And so with that,
okay, I'm gonna take it back to YNPN DC a little and talk about when Jennifer and I started, where the Professional Development Committee was at over the year. So we stepped in, I hope this works, yes. When we started as co-chairs of the Professional Development Committee, we took a look at the last year of professional development events at YNPN DC, and we sort of, by the numbers, saw that they had put together 20 events. On average, we're pulling in 23 attendees at each event and had generated about $4,500 in revenue for those events. And you can see some of the sample topics: building your network, recurring resolutions, professionally you. And we really wanted to take a look at these numbers and work on building and making our decisions more strategic so we could kind of grow and make really meaningful, impactful programming. So I'm going to do where we are now, and we're almost, our fiscal year is July to July, June to June. So we've got a couple more months of programming left. But at this point, we have 14 events under our belt, and we have an average of 38 attendees at each event. We've generated a little over $4,700 in revenue, and you can see some of the sample topics. Lead Now, board service and preparation, dollars and cents, balancing your nonprofit budget, what's next, brand yourself for good, and thinking about the title of this session, I realized we really like colons. That's like two keys there. We have a pattern. But I really think that this speaks a lot to our decision as professional development co-chairs to kind of pull back a little bit in order to make our programming more meaningful. We thought that by having fewer events and really putting a lot of our energy into making those events meaningful, and we'll talk a little bit about that on the next slide, and really kind of offering a little bit deeper topics than some that were presented in the past, we could make more of an impact. So this is my favorite slide next. It's the YNPN DC story, how we arrived here. And we think about our programming and our professional development events, not just in terms of the events, but sort of on a people track too. And we try to hit all 4 of these points along the way. So we think it's extraordinarily important to not just provide really high quality programs, the scale of the programs in terms of how many we're having, or the size, and making sure their impact and that we're hitting our revenue marks, but we want to make sure that we're pulling along the people as well, and making sure that this, whether it's our committee members or our members, the 9,000 in the YNPN DC network, that we're really making sure that they feel involved in our program. So, like I said, in terms of quality, we try to make sure our programs are really high impact, and we pull in really high caliber speakers. We find that our members and our committee members really find value in being able to network with people rather than just plug them into an event and let our members get to know them. Having our committee members be able to email some pretty high, high profile people in the DC community is a really huge professional development event for themselves.
Well, I mean, a great example from this morning, or maybe it was the session yesterday, we were talking about BoardSource. Is everyone familiar with BoardSource? We had their president and CEO participate in one of our events recently. So one of the events Rachel had up on the previous screen was Lead Now, board service and preparation. It was our first luncheon this year, which was very exciting. But yes, we had the CEO. She was fantastic, Ann Walstead. And I would say what was interesting about that event, not only did it sell out very quickly, it was very popular, but it also attracted a very different type of member. So much more senior level folks in our community, in our YNPN DC network. In fact, some of the folks who had been speakers at previous events that we'd had came as participants to that session. So I think there's a real demand and a real appetite from folks in our network to learn more about board prep and how they can serve and be part of communities like YNPN in more meaningful ways.
DC also just benefits from being the national national headquarters for so many
Yes.
people. So that is a huge geographical bonus that we try to take advantage of. So.
Well, and speaking of geography, has anyone been to DC before? Okay, so most people are familiar with our graphics. All right. For those of you who haven't been to DC, this is our metro map, our metro system. We do have a love-hate relationship with it, so I should put that out there on the front end. But some pretty cool graphics.
Don't complain, you have one. And it works most of the time.
That is true.